Hello and welcome to the Gazette's weekly Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, and I'm joined by my regular partners here, former Canadiens teammates and 1986 Stanley Cup champs, Chris Nilan and Rick Green. Well, guys, the Canadiens lost Game 4 against the Buffalo Sabres 3-2 Tuesday night at the Bell Center, evening the best-of-7 second-round series at 2-2 with Game 5 Thursday night in Buffalo and Game 6 Saturday night, a rare Saturday night playoff game at the Bell Center. Knuckles is now a best-of-3 series with the Canadiens needing to win at least one game in Buffalo. Exact same situation they had in the first round against Tampa Bay. Are you confident they can do it again?
Listen, I don't know. It's like everybody always asks me, are they going to win tonight? Who knows? Like, really? Like, this is hockey. You got to go play the game. Who's going to show up? Who's going to get it done? And, looking at their first round, that's done with. But they certainly have to win on the road if they want to come out of this series and move on. So, they got to go in there and play the type of hockey that allows them to be successful. And, at times they did it last night. They're pretty frustrating when you look at, the power play opportunities they had. 1 for 7 they went. They had a 4-minute power play that could have changed things. Special teams are key. 2 power play goals against. Dobesh kept them in the game again. Those two-on-ones, when they're chasing the game, 3-2, they're down. They got to try and create. They took some high risks in both those plays, and he keeps them in the game. They just couldn't get it done. Buffalo was really frustrating in the third period. They flooded the neutral zone. Canadians couldn't breeze through there. Their skating game was off a bit last night.
Rick, the atmosphere at the Bell Center has been incredible. I know you've been there. They haven't been able to take advantage. That's 2 series in a row. They've lost Game 4 at home. Are you surprised they haven't been able to use the home ice more to their advantage? Well,
it really comes down to, bounces, and obviously the bounce that they got from Tate Thompson was one that kind of hurt them. Up until that point, I thought they played a pretty good game. I'm really impressed with the way they've been able to be patient in the neutral zone and try and block any of the entries, from at the blue line, and have been very effective at that. And Nux touched on the special teams. Special teams are so critical, and if you can't capitalize when you have that opportunity, it's going to come back and bite you, and it did. And they've got to find a way to get more traffic around the net and forget about these fancy dance seam passes that they're all looking for, and the opposition's aware of it, and they're getting sticks in the way. And Buffalo's done a hell of a job in shutting that down and making their power play ineffective. And they're going to fine tune their game. I'm thinking that they're going to go into Buffalo and they'll be ready to go at it. And this is just the kind of series that we're dealing with. And hopefully Buffalo is going to continue to take some of the stupid penalties that they continue to take over and over. And Montreal will find a way to light it up on the power play and get the job done.
Knuckles, Rick mentions that crazy goal by Tage Thompson, the dump in that hit where the Zamboni door is and bounced right across directly in off of Dobish. Is that the craziest goal you've seen? And could that be a turning point in the series? Can the Canadiens let that be a turning point in the series?
No, come on. If that's going to beat you in the series and you're weak, please. It's happened before in the NHL and key games. We've seen it before. But, you hear people talk about he should have done this, he should have done that. It's a freak play. Sometimes he comes out to play the puck, but that's high in the glass. He didn't. Should he turn and face the puck and hug the post? Everybody has an answer for it. It happened. It's difficult. But, again, it's great that, we can talk about special teams. I like it. But 5-on-5, they've been pretty ineffective. Last night. They were ineffective 5-on-5. Does Slavkovsky have a 5-on-5 point in this? I don't know. Demidov, hello, it's frustrating. 5-on-5, yeah, they scored the previous 2 games. Things were great, but all of a sudden that dries up. The Sabres made some adjustments, and the Habs have to be able to fight through that, and it's not going to get any easier. I remember old Toe Blake used to come in the room after all the games, playoffs. He'd come in, he'd be in the room, he'd have his fedora in his hand and his jacket wrapped over his arm, and he'd walk up and he'd say, "You got nothing yet. You're up 2-1 in the series, right?" He'd say, "You got nothing yet," and they had nothing yet, but a 2-1 lead. That's, now it's even up. Now it's best 2 out of 3.
Well, answer your question there, Knuckles. Slafkovsky, 4 goals, 2 assists in the playoffs, all on the power play.
There you go.
No even strength.
5-on-5.
Rick, the Sabres blocked 27 shots last night. I was saying it was almost like a soccer team parking the bus in front of the net. The Habs really had a hard time getting shots through, even after they pulled the goalie at the end. How do you get around that? Because it worked so well for the Sabres. They're going to do it again.
Well, you got to give them credit. I mean, these guys were committed to getting in the shooting lanes and making it really difficult on the Canadiens. And this is what you need in playoffs. And Montreal did the same thing against Tampa. They were leading in block shots, and allows you a chance to be in every game and find a way to win. And it's tough. It's playoffs. We all know that it's a fine line between winning and losing, and all of these little details add up to whether or not you're going to find a way to win. And you talk about Slav. I mention his name because I've seen more from him, and as of late, I don't see him with the same fire. And whether or not he's having a little problem with injury or what is going on, but we need more from that big body that we had seen before, where he's getting to the net, he's pushing guys off the puck, and really fighting through a lot of difficult areas. And this is what he needs to do, and I think he's aware of it. But we need more from him, and they're going to be okay. They just they ran into a situation where Buffalo was ready. They were committed to making it real difficult by, like you said, blocking shots and paying the price. And Montreal knows what it takes to find ways to win, and they'll find a way to win.
Well, they definitely have confidence in themselves. They're all saying that after the game with good reason, after what they did in the first series against Tampa. Knuckles, I know one of your favorite topics is NHL refereeing. Some questionable calls last night, and we had the double video review, which took like 10 minutes before they finally decided that it wasn't a goal. That's not a good look. I mean, slowing the game down, and then a video review, and then a video review of the video review. I mean, you wonder, is a Stanley Cup one day might be decided by a double video review.
Yeah, listen, I think there's certainly a directive from Bettman, I'm sure, that, listen, if you're not sure about something, get together, talk about it, look at it, make sure you get it right. Because the one thing Gary Bettman doesn't want in the playoffs is a bad call to decide a game. And that's the last thing he wants. So, I had a friend saw him down in Florida, and he said, "Geez, what are you hoping for the playoffs this year?" He said that we don't have any nonsense with the referees, and it's true. Like, he doesn't want that. It looks bad for the league. Everybody, he's always trying to protect the referees, which is fine. I get it. But, yeah, listen, there's going to be those calls in the game. Questionable calls always. You look at I'm up their ass sometimes because I was never a fan of referees. But like I say, and I'll preface it, I deserved all that I got, most of it. But I looked last night in the third period. All right, Cole Caulfield get cross-checked in the throat. Okay, I get it. It probably hurt him. He was probably a little winded. He went to the bench right away. Then Bolduc goes down looking for a call. Slafkovsky, and they stay on the ice. Get up off the ice. Don't lay there. I don't care. Get up off the ice. He got a butt end from the goalie. It was incidental contact. He was trying to make a save. He fell. Boom. Bolduc goes down, lays there. There's a game going on. Don't lay there. No one gives a shit about you. on the ice. The other team, they don't care. You're laying there. You're leaving your team shorthanded. So, yeah, listen, they have a difficult job. I get it. But, you can't be, the referees. It's not going to work. It works against you.
Well, that one, Rick, with the referees in Game 3 when the Sabres forward Beck Mallinson ran over Jakub Dobish. It was only a 2-minute penalty. He ended up getting fined the maximum amount by the CBA, which is just over $3,000, which is a bit of a joke. But should that have been a more severe punishment? Was that a major? Should that have been a suspension?
To me, it should have been a major. I mean, he intentionally just completely wanted to run him through the back of the net. I don't think he tried to avoid him in any way. He was determined to take him out and to hurt him. And I think he should have been punished a little bit more than that. And I think that's kind of his track record. And thank goodness he didn't hurt Dobish, because he hit him pretty hard.
Here's the deal on that one. Honestly, you can take the hockey out of hockey if you want, but guys go hard to the net. And if you look at the replay, that guy jumped up to try and avoid his head. He ends up on the bar, right? He's going the net hard. And I'll go back to the Chris Kreider thing. Everybody wanted to hang Kreider. He's going the net hard. Yemlin comes across, a dangerous guy, a dangerous head. He knocks him off balance. Like, he should have went in head first. Can I make up my mind there to go in head first instead of feet first? I don't think so. And I really believe, I went back and looked at that and looked at it and looked at it. And he jumps up and tried to avoid him. You go in the net so hard, it's easy to say, geez, in our day, you could run the goalie and get 2 minutes and you suck it up and move on. But now it's different. Again, I'm not saying I'm going to let the guy off the hook, but he was going the net hard. When you go the net hard, stuff like that can happen. I know you got to be responsible. You can't. And I really think he tried to avoid the goalie. He jumped up to try and get over him. And you see him hanging off the bar. So.
Well, running the goal in your day was almost a set play, Knuckles, wasn't it? Just maybe try and throw a guy off.
I loved it.
Well, I'm with you. I thought the Kreider one, I've never, Habs are furious. I mean, he was going fast. He fell. I thought this one with Mallinson was maybe more of an intentional trying to run into the goalie than what it was with Kreider.
I looked at it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, those fines with the NHL, $3,000 fine. I don't think is going to stop anybody from thinking not to do it again. Guy Carbonneau carried the torch in before Game 4. Knuckles, your buddy, and Rick, your buddy too. What was it like to see him get it, and was that the right pick? I guess there's no really wrong pick at this point.
No, look, I'm good for him. I mean, there's a list of guys that are around and are deserving to be in there. Ambassadors, guys like that can jump in there and carry that torch. I think it's super, and obviously the fans love it. You see the response that they show when whoever is carrying it, and great to see, and kind of kickstarts the game and the excitement, and they love that stuff. Beautiful.
Your old line mate, Knuckles. Now they're just missing Bob Gainey to complete the trio.
Yeah, maybe he'll be next. Who knows? Pretty cool. Like I said, for me, it was an honor. Great to see Guy do it. Hall of Famer, captain. All he did for the organization. It's awesome. But again, I'll just say it. It was, for me, I was surprised as all hell, and I certainly was happy to oblige. It was an emotional moment for me, and it was an awesome experience.
Now, just going back to the Mallinson running the goalie, you're running Dobish again. You must have loved the way Zachary Bolduc jumped in there right away. I mean, Marty had said after the game that playoffs are part of Bolduc's DNA, the way he plays the game with his speed and his physicality. What have you liked about the way he's played after sort of a disappointing first regular season with the Canadiens?
Yeah, well, I think when they got together, certainly he picked it up. There's no question. I remember when he started here, he got a couple goals right off the hop, and then things kind of leveled out. A guy like that, you got to be skating, and you got to be on the puck. You got to be playing physical. You got to be going the net hard. All those things, and I think putting him with the players he's been with, that Texier surprised me too. The kid, I think it's a good line. they've done a solid job throughout the playoffs here, that line. There's no question. I listen, you're skating, you're hitting, you're getting involved. That's what you have to do when you play like that.
I know, Rick, we've been critical at times of Kirby Dach this season, and struggling through injuries and struggling to find his physical game. And he did the double headlock in Game 3, dragging 2 Sabres guys out of a pile, which is sort of not something you'd expect Arber Xhekaj to do that, not Kirby Dach. But have you been impressed by what he's been doing? I mean, his contract is up after this season. Do the Canadiens look at keeping him with the way he's been playing so far in the playoffs?
I mean, without question, he's really turned his game around. It's nice to see him staying on the healthy side. And he's been effective, every time he's been on the ice. And you'd have to consider what it would take to get him signed, because he's responded in, excuse me, in a way that I didn't think that he would respond that way. And he's obviously chipped in some big goals, and his overall play, I think, is a real bonus. And he's not stupid. He knows he's needing a new contract. He needs to perform. But the bottom line here is, I think that he's been challenged, and he's grabbed a hold of that challenge and shown himself very, very well, and is an effective and has been a big part of the of that line for most of the playoffs now.
Another guy I think who's been effective, Knuckles, since he got in the lineup in this series, is Joe Veleno. Big body. I mean, he's not the offensive type of player, but his game seems to be suited for the playoffs. Has he been? He came in, Gallagher came out. Was that the right move?
Right move or not? I think he's done okay out there. There's no question. Being thrust in that situation, you always got to be ready. We'll see. Are they going to put Gallagher in Buffalo? Who knows? It's really difficult. I think he's done an adequate job. There's no question. Back to Kirby Dach. I think what he's shown here in the playoffs will warrant another contract. Depends if he's, when you look at what they're going to offer him years-wise and money, it has to be right. There's no question. I think if Hayes had left Michigan, that could change things for him. But where he's staying another year, we'll see. But I think his play has warranted it. There's no question in the playoffs here.
Rick, as you mentioned several times, you never really trusted forwards when you were playing. One forward I'm sure you would have trusted is Philip Danault. I know when Kent Hughes acquired him from LA, there were some Canadiens fans thinking they gave up too much second-round pick to bring him back to Montreal for a second stint. Certainly looking like that was a good move right now. I mean, Philip Danault is sort of made for the playoffs.
Great addition, over 60% in the face-off circle. You see how they use him in such critical, times of the game, and he delivers. And you know what you're going to get from him every time he's on the ice. He's dependable. He's a competitor. He knows how to play. And, a lot of guys feed off of that, and they learn from a guy that's been around a little while and a quality kid in the room, and he brings a lot to the organization. And I know he's very, very excited to be part of this run. And I'm happy for him and his family that they're really enjoying being back in Montreal, and obviously want to get a chance to get a Stanley Cup.
Hey, never trust a defenseman trying to forecheck and getting caught, and then giving up another 2-on-1. Then never trust a defenseman when the high forward is on the wall, okay, trying to keep the puck in, and then you come in to help him, and it's another 2-on-1, and Dobis has to basically rip his groins out to make the save on the 2-on-1. So yeah, talk about trusting forwards. How about trusting defensemen? Suck on.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I have to say about the front crawl swimming stuff again by the defenseman that I see over and over again, just drives me crazy.
Thank
you. And
I admire your honesty.
It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, duly noted.
Was Rick good on the forecheck, Chris?
What's that?
Was Rick good on the forecheck?
No, God, Rick was good.
I got as far as our blue line or the red line on occasion, just for the dump.
We're talking about Philip Deneau earlier, and we're talking about Guy Carbonneau earlier also, Knuckles. Does Deneau remind you in some ways of Carbonneau, the way he plays the game?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he really, strong side a lot, very aware on the ice, killing plays. Yeah, I don't know. He's a seasoned vet now. We saw him when he first came in here, and yeah, I really love the way he plays. He's responsible all over the ice.
Rick, as a coach, what's it like when you know you have that veteran guy that you can throw out there? I mean, the one game he played the last full 3 minutes. Another game, I think he was on the ice for 4 out of the last 5 minutes against Tampa Bay. It's almost like a security blanket, I guess.
It's a luxury that I think every coach would love to have. That when you look down the bench and you look at these individuals, and you know very well that chances are that they're not going to make the mistake that's going to cost them a goal against or a chance against, and that's the advantage of having good people that you understand what their role is. They understand what their role is, and they love the challenge of being put in some high pressure situations where they're supposed to deliver, and they do deliver more often than not. And that's a real advantage to have that kind of group on your bench.
So game 5 in Buffalo Thursday night, Knuckles, 7 o'clock start. The Saturday game at the Bell Center is going to be an 8 o'clock start. What's your message to these guys going into Buffalo for game 5?
Well, yeah, listen, we proved we can win on the road, and we proved it already in this series. Now let's go out and apply ourselves and play that game. We got to be skating. We got to be aware. We got to stick together here and do the little things. Pay attention to the little things. Strong side, defensive zone coverage, which has been probably for me one of the most surprising things in the playoffs here. And I think I said at the beginning of the series that they can't have to listen. It's great to rely on your goaltender. You're going to make those big saves. He kept them in the game last night, right? But sooner or later, that's going to bite you. Like he's really this kid played unbelievable. I don't from the first series to this one, and you gotta be able to really weather that storm and tighten up in your own end. You can't be leaving guys alone for these open grade A chances. So that's going to be something they're going to have to really pay attention to in Buffalo, because they're going to come at them. I can guarantee you that right off the hop. So they got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, that pad save Dobers made where he threw his stick away on at the same time. That's a save of the year candidate without a doubt. Rick, it's going to be crazy in Buffalo. Game 5, those fans are going to be jacked up. What do you say to the Canadiens if you're still an assistant coach and you're in the locker room before this game?
Don't try and force some plays. Limit turnovers. Hold your blue line. Use your speed and transition, and get that puck going ahead and get some heat on their defensemen, because we know that under pressure they have some success against their D, and with the speed of the Canadiens, which is a huge asset, they can force a lot of errors in Buffalo's zone. So let's get on them early. Make sure that you're doing a good job in the neutral zone. And if you notice a number of times over the previous games, very seldom do they try and force pucks that they shouldn't be forcing. Little chips into the Buffalo zone, and away they go. And that's going to be effective for them to cause some turnovers and cause some havoc and get that first goal and put a little bit more heat on Buffalo Sabres.
Knuckles, do you think they maybe feel a little less stress? I don't know if stress is the right word, though, on the road, just because of the craziness at the Bell Center. Nick Suzuki had said, game 3, like the Ole before the national anthem and everything else, it shook him a bit. Like it's crazy in there. Do you think maybe they're just more relaxed on the road? And that
I never cared for the Ole unless they're up 4-1 and there's like a minute left. Okay, or nah. Hey, goodbye. Unless it's the last game of the series. But that's part of the ambiance of this building. You can't change that. That's something you got to feed off that energy and just go do your job. Now, listen, I always feel that the home team does have more pressure. I don't care where you are. And it's like a game 7. I say it. A home team, you fall behind, you're chasing a game, you start gripping the stick, things get more intense, and you can't make a mistake. And the pressure's on. So, yeah, they got to pressure this team in there. They got to put them back on their heels. And if they do that, they're going to have an opportunity to win that next game. An opportunity, that's all it is, until you put it out there on the ice and leave it all out there on the ice.
And I think another factor that's really motivating in Buffalo is just go for a walk in Buffalo, and it won't take you long to realize that you don't want to come back there again.
The city they forgot to finish.
Well, we do know there'll be at least one more game at the Bell Center, as I mentioned earlier, with Game 6 on Saturday night, 8 o'clock start. Game 7, if necessary, we'll be back in Buffalo on Monday at a 7 o'clock start. Anyway, that's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. I hope you all enjoyed it out there. We'll have a couple of bonus episodes coming up, actually 3 bonus episodes coming up over the next few days, so you can look for those. In case you didn't know already, Hockey Inside Out is now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. We'll also be back with a new Hockey Inside Out show next week after this Buffalo series is all wrapped up.